evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Latina Diaspora. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with this platform, or those who are watching it for the first time, here we discuss regarding issues pertaining to Latinos, particular Latinos that are currently residing in the United States, whether it be those that were born here or those who are immigrated from other countries. So I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Okay. As always, I really appreciate the love and support you give me. If you have not done so, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notification to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on a playback. Of course, I have another channel which is more well known as Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. And on that platform, we discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone just is logic. So, um, before we get into the topic tonight regarding the myths regarding Latinos, there's a few things that I want to talk about. Okay, first of all, um, this Sunday is the National Puerto Rican Day Parade. Okay, of course, it's an opportunity for all of us, whether it be Puerto Ricans that were born in Puerto Rico or Puerto Ricans born here in the United States, or anyone who just become an adopted Puerto Rican for the day to show our pride in our culture, our language, and our flag. And of course, it's one of the most popular parades here in New York. I mean, there are other parades, but I think the Puerto Rican Day Parade is the most. It's the most popular. Of course, there are other parades that are just as popular. You have the Dominican Day Parade, you have the St. Patrick's Day Parade, and you have various different countries that celebrate their national parade on various times of the year. And of course, I'm going to have the opportunity to participate. Now, of course, in my case, I'm going to be riding in one of the vehicles due to the fact that with my current condition, I'm not physically able to walk the distance from the beginning of the parade to the end of the parade. But nevertheless, I will be present and I'll be able to enjoy myself. And I'm going to be loading images, um, putting it on my social media. Now, I have to be careful um, regarding certain images because there is an issue regarding copyright, regarding music. So I have to be very careful regarding that subject. Okay, because I don't want to get on the bad side on YouTube. I've been very fortunate, at avoiding, being on the negative, being on the bad side of YouTube as things of that nature. And I want to continue this trend. And of course, a huge shout out to all my fellow Boricuas. Again, whether you came from the island itself or you are part of the Puerto Rican diaspora like myself. So I really, so I'm saying this is our time to shine, so to speak. So with that being said, I'm going to get into the main topic. So before I continue, um, let me just let everybody know um, that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit that link and join the panel and opine, they're more than welcome to do so. Let me make this perfectly clear that if I never seen you before or heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage before I let you on the panel. And the reason behind that is obvious. I don't want anyone that try to get cute and flash anything inappropriate, which would cause the people on YouTube to take down this stream. Because unfortunately, we have to be with reality. We have people who not all there, okay, that do try disrupt the stream or whatever reason, okay, and maybe they don't. It could be that they don't have a reason. They just want to be disruptive, okay. But be as it may, let me just discuss you some of the issues when Latinos have to face when they move, we immigrate to the United States. Of course, one of them is learning a new language, okay? Because most likely, many Latinos um, do not speak English, or if they do speak English, they don't speak English um, with a level of proficiency that they can maintain a conversation. So one of the first challenges that they have is they have to learn. Okay, I don't want to say have to learn English, but it is to their benefit that they learn English and be bilingual, because unfortunately, you have people that try to take advantage of people who recently arrived in the United States. Okay, and the fact of the matter is true. This country does not have an official language, contrary to what some people think. But for intensive purposes, the unofficial language is English. And if you wish to um, live in this country and do well, you should try to learn to speak English reasonably well. Okay. Another issue that Latinos face is, of course, is the environment. Okay. Now, I don't want to make a general statement because obviously there are differences with Latinos that come from the Caribbean, namely Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. They have their culture, they have they speak Spanish, but they have their own particular nuances and things of that nature, and their history. And then you have to take into consideration the Latinos that were born and raised in Central America. Okay, they have they have cultural differences. They have different dialects. Okay, and at the same time, you have to take into account Latinos that come from South America. Okay, and again, while we all speak um, the language, which is Spanish, and there's some things that are similar. Um, one of them being the strong Catholic influences that exist in the countries, regardless whether you're from Central, South, or the Caribbean. There are differences. Okay, and furthermore, there are different slangs, and you have words that can mean one thing to another person, and another, and it can mean something else. And you have to be mindful that some words, um, while it's perfectly acceptable in certain regions, it's considered offensive to others. And that's something we all have to learn. Okay? Like, for example, um, The Spanish word coger, which means to take or to grab. Okay? In certain cultures, that's perfectly fine. You can just say to grab this or to take that. In certain other cultures, that can mean something else. That can mean a word that starts with an F and ends with a K. And I don't mean funk. Okay? We all know what that means. I am not going to say that. Okay? So that's something we all need to bear in mind. Okay? So the different environments, the different traditions. Okay. Unfortunately, one of the things that Latinos have to face when it comes to this country is there's racism that exists. Okay. And the reason why that exists, because unfortunately, you have certain ignorant people that tend to look at Latinos in one light. Okay. It is sad, but it is true. I mean, I have discussed this at length um, on my main channel. Okay, and unfortunately, you do have people that base everything on the color of your skin or or your heritage. Okay, and there's discrimination based on race, gender, um, sexual orientation. So unfortunately, things like that do occur. Okay. Excuse me. So, of course, along with racism, discrimination. Okay. Um, it is sad to state that here in 2024, that people do not still judge a person, but what they look in the outside. Okay, and that has to do with upbringing. I know for my part, I was taught um, to judge a person based on their character, not what not what are their ethnicity and things of that nature. Because again, let me make this perfectly clear: you cannot control your ethnicity, you cannot control your skin color, you cannot control your okay. Okay. The other things you cannot control. But unfortunately, we're living in a day and age where people make those type of judgments. Okay, and it's sad, but that is the reality. Another thing that Latinos face is identity issues. Okay, particularly for when you have people that try to base yourself by either your phenotype or the way you speak or the way you dress or things of that nature. Okay. Unfortunately, racism is a part of it's a it's a part of the sad um, history as far as this country is concerned. Unfortunately, this country has do not have a good reputation dealing with people who are different. Okay, and we can cite multiple examples. Okay, like for example, how we how we We thought that the indigenous people are savages, which is not true. I mean, many of the so-called indigenous groups, um, they have highly advanced societies and they have an advanced history. Okay. Again, unfortunately, the reality is that there is a great deal of racism here. Okay. Now, another way we have identity issues is, first of all, that has to do with the first generation going forward when it comes to Latinos. Because what we try to do is that we try to assimilate, okay? And sometimes we go so far in assimilating ourselves that we tend to lose our identity of who we are, and we may be hesitant to speak our native tongue, which is Spanish. Okay. And again, all of this is an attempt to try to assimilate. Also, another area when we have this issue with identity is that whenever we go to our countries of origin uh, to visit, whether it be our parents, our grandparents, our cousins, and things of that nature, at times they tend to look at us as, instead of being Latinos, but gringos, okay? Simply because we live in the United States. Now, there are many reasons why Latinos have chosen to immigrate to the United States. One of the main reasons is to try to find a better life for themselves and for their families that, for various reasons, perceive that it is not possible to achieve in their countries of origin. Okay. And one thing we have to understand that in some countries, the political situation is not as stable. Okay. And not every country is a democracy. Um, Okay. You have various different types of government. Um, okay. So there's some cases there might be political persecution, religious persecution, or sexual persecution as it pertaining to the LGBTQ plus community. Because in some countries, you can face criminal time. You can also face the the death penalty in some countries due to your sexual orientation. Okay. Now, in this country, we don't have that issue, but then again, there are people who are ignorant regarding people who are different. And of course, there's another problem that is pertaining to Latinos is issue when it comes to assimilation. Okay. Now, to and the reason why I say assimilation is because, look, it's like this: you're living in a foreign country. You live in a country where the customs are some ways completely different, and the language are completely different. Okay, so of course there's the struggle to learn um, how to navigate in a language that's not your native tongue, and also learn the customs of this country. and also being mindful that what may be permissible in your country in origin is necessarily permissible here in the United States. And that's something that sometimes it could be a little a challenge for others to deal with. When I was working overtime, dealing with the migrants, one of the things that I try to impress on them that to be mindful that the customs that you hold in your native countries do not necessarily apply while in the United States. Okay, things are done differently. Okay, in many ways good, some ways not so good. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to reside in the United States, you do need to be mindful what's permissible and what is not permissible. It's the same thing. Like for example, if I was to say immigrate to say Colombia or Argentina or Mexico, I will have to learn. If I did not learn, to speak Spanish, I will have to learn how to speak Spanish. Not only that, I'll have to learn what is acceptable in the culture over there and regarding their rules and regulations in that country. Okay, because we cannot and we should not impose our values to another country, particularly if you're going to live there. And even just in the same boat, if you're just going to visit, you have to learn how things are done. And the fact of the matter is, one of the things that I always do when I visit another country is that I spend time trying to understand the culture and understand what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. Okay, and that also includes certain expressions, and to be mindful that certain expressions can be considered offensive. And another thing to bear in mind that in some Latin American countries they don't have the thing called political correctness. Okay, which is something that they have to learn to embrace because while in some countries they don't have that's not it's not a concept. Political correctness is a concept here in the United States. And if you're not careful, you can easily offend someone unintentionally. So, so to my fellow Latinos who are thinking of immigrating to the United States, one of the things you have to bear in mind that here there is political correctness, and it does exist. So be mindful of what you say and think before you speak. Okay, because unfortunately we have a large number of people here, particularly in social media, and I like to use this analogy. Their mouth is in first gear, but their brain is in neutral. In other words, they speak before they think, and that could be a big problem. Okay, of course, another issue that is pertaining to Latinos is the possibility of losing your own culture. Okay, and again, I know that the Latinos that had spent most of their lives not even bother to learn English because they perceived it was not necessary. Okay. However, the other extreme is that you have people who pick up English to the extent they know how to communicate in Spanish. Now, in my case, um, what my parents did was that they did not encourage me to learn to speak Spanish in the home. Okay, and I didn't understand the reason why, and now I do. The reason why they did that is that they wanted to make sure that me and my siblings have the greatest possibilities of succeeding here in the United States. Okay. So as a result, I learned Spanish late in my life. Okay. And if any one of you heard me to speak Spanish, it's kind of sound um, like a gringo speaking Spanish. And I admit my Spanish is a little clumsy at times, but at least I can speak it. And somehow people understand me. Okay. Which I am happy about that. But it basically you're trying to navigate between two worlds. On the one hand, you're dealing with the fact that you're living in the United States where there is an unofficial language called English, and yet you have American customs. But yet you're coming from another country where customs are quite different. And also there's again there's a strong Catholic influence in every country. So it could be a challenge to assimilate here in the United States without losing your culture, without losing your identity. Okay. Another issue that Latinos have, and this is basically more. This is more with the Latinos who immigrated um, to the United States, is feeling homesick. Okay, and sometimes when you live in the United States, you miss how things are done in United countries. Sometimes you can go months without seeing your parents, okay, or, and your siblings. So sometimes what happens, you have Latinos that feel homesick, which is okay. Well, it's true. We have certain technologies. Okay, years ago we had Skype, and then you have WhatsApp. And for those who are more computer literate, can use Zoom to do face calls and things like that. One thing you have to bear in mind that not everyone is tech savvy. Okay, and as great as Zoom is, as great as WhatsApp, I mean, it does not replace that person to person contact. Okay, so it can be a challenge. Another issue is, of course, rejection. Okay, and rejection can come in many forms. Okay, it could come from certain people that reject the persons here in the United States, because unfortunately we do have racism here. Okay, and one of the things we have to understand that we're all going to face ignorant people. I mean, there's not too much we can do. Okay, as long as certain people choose not to educate themselves regarding who we are, what we do, what makes us unique, what makes us wonderful. And also, when it comes to a certain extent, when we visit our countries of origin, to reconnect with family. Now, that we don't have, for the most part, we don't have to deal with that, okay? Because basically, what we do embrace everyone, even those who live in the United States. Okay. Another issue is basically trying too hard to be American. Okay. And it's similar to like trying so hard to assimilate. I mean, look, I think what it would we would do well is that we be ourselves, be mindful of the fact that we are living here in the United States, but yet at the same time retain our culture, and then what we can do is integrate our culture to the culture here in the United States. And when we're able to do that, it is the best of both worlds. Because first of all, you have the history of the United States, which is rich and deep, and then you have the history regarding our native countries, which is also so rich. Okay, and plus you have the combination of American cuisine and cuisine from our native countries. Now, one thing that I did not know that exists, another issue is, and this is more or less has to do with Latinos part of the diaspora. And in this case, I'm going to refer to the Puerto Rican diaspora. One thing, and this is something that I discovered last week when we did our stream on my main channel regarding the myths regarding Puerto Ricans. That we have um, some millennial Puerto Rican diasporans trying to gatekeep what is a Puerto Rican and what is not, which I find it shocking, insane. Because first of all, why are we doing this? Okay, okay, and I think it's not our place. It's not our place to determine who is, for example, for someone like myself that's born and living in the United States, the gatekeep as far as what consists as a Puerto Rican and what's not. Okay, one thing that we have to bear and understand, there are differences uh, with Puerto Ricans that were born and living in Puerto Rico, and Puerto Ricans born and living um, in the United States. And the same thing that can be applied to when it comes to Latinos in that situation, whether it be from Central America, South America, or the Caribbean. No one should be trying to gatekeep what consists of a Dominican or a Cuban or Ecuadorian or Mexican or what have you. Okay, it is not our place. It is not our place. Now, why is that being done? I don't know. Like I said, I didn't know that this situation has been occurring. Unfortunately, it is. I will be discussing this a little bit further when I do my stream on Friday, which will be the myths regarding Puerto Ricans Part 2. Okay. So, and of course the last issue, and of course the other issues that Latinos have to face is learning new ways. Okay, and being mindful that in this country, again, There are certain things that are considered acceptable, which are not considered acceptable in our countries of origin. And the same thing applies to there. Some of the customs and beliefs that's considered acceptable um, in our countries of origin is not acceptable over here. Okay. For example, when it comes to prescription, you have to have you have to have a, I mean, if it's other than over-the-counter medication, you have to have a doctor write a prescription. And for the pharmacy. Also in this country, there's a thing called political correctness, where certain things you cannot say. Okay. Also, we have to bear in mind that in this country, there are a lot of things that would appear to be off-putting in our countries of origin, where here it's perfectly acceptable. Okay, so we have to bear that in mind. Okay, so with that being said, I just want to let everybody know that I will be live uh, Friday at 9 p.m. I will be discussing the topic, which is the myths regarding Puerto Ricans, Part 2. I hope to have two of my father Boricuas, both of them from the island, to share their point of view regarding the topic. Um, there are a lot of myths, not just regarding Puerto Ricans, but regarding Latinos in general. Okay. So this is a general rule. I usually air content from this platform once a week on Wednesdays, and then twice a week on my other channel, which is Mondays and Fridays, and the time could be anywhere from 9 to 9:30. Uh, so, as always, I do appreciate those who do watch the stream, whether it be live or whether it be on the playback. Okay. And of course, all of you are more than welcome to enter your comments after the stream is over. I will request, nevertheless, that try to keep it respectable, because if you fail to do that, your comments will be deleted. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to call this a night, and we'll see each other next week. So I will say, have a good night. Take care. Peace and peace.
Strong.